Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I thought today we would just get comfy and cozy together. It's very late. I think it's like 12:30 in the AM. It's a Saturday though, and I'm a night owl, so this is like prime time for me, and I don't have work on the weekends. I have a cup of tea, and the lighting is low, so I thought we could just have a cozy time and talk about the books that I ended up reading in June. I have had a crazy couple of weeks, you guys. I know I missed a video last week. That was unintentional, but life just got crazy, busy, and overwhelming. And I have this syndrome where I get paralyzed if I have too much going on, that I can't focus on other things. I really can't focus on reading or watching TV or anything that's like calming because my brain is just on overdrive. So until I've kind of lightened my load, I have trouble focusing on other things. One of those things is I have a trip coming up. I leave in 2 days, and you guys will hopefully see bits of that trip in an upcoming video. That is the plan. But yeah, so I have been just planning that, preparing for that, packing, doing all that stuff. And I've also been just preparing my body. This is the first time I've traveled with my health being what it is, so I'm a little bit nervous. It's the first time I've traveled in a while in my current state of health by myself, and it's about 20 hours worth of traveling. So not ideal, but we're going to do it. We're going to have a great time, and hopefully all will be well. But yes, I have been preparing my body. So like I said, I have my tea. I made some ginger tea out of fresh ginger, and I'm going to be sipping on this tonight, and I'm just kind of winding down from the day. So grab yourself a hot drink, grab yourself a snack, and let's wind down together and do my June wrap up. So the first book I read in June was Bite Me: How Lyme Disease Stole My Childhood, Made Me Crazy, and Almost Killed Me by Ally Hilifiger, who is Tommy Hilfiger's daughter. And Tommy Hilfiger is a fashion designer who was extremely prominent in the 90s. I want to have a little chat about Lyme disease, okay? So if you're not interested in this, that's totally okay. I'll put a timestamp of where you can skip to just bypass all of this and get to the rest of the wrap up. But when I first started this channel, I did my booktube newbie tag, and in that video I did say that one of the driving forces for me to start my channel was my chronic illness. And I just briefly mentioned in that video that, you know, it's an isolating illness, and because of that I've been reading a lot more. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to start a channel. It also ironically is one of the reasons I didn't want to start a channel too. You know, chronic illnesses come with their own fun ailments, and for me in particular, it's very hard to articulate myself and have like coherent thoughts, and sometimes I lose words, and it's hard for me to focus. So even watching back some of my videos, I'm in pain a lot of the time because I just can see my brain buffering so hard. But at the end of the day, this is something that I want to do. I find it relaxing and calming, and I enjoy being able to come on here and talk about books, something that I'm so passionate about. So for me, it's a really good outlet. I'm still kind of trying to find my footing as far as managing my health, my work life, my personal life, and this channel, but we're gonna do it. I never specifically mentioned what my chronic illness was, but I'm sure as you've gathered by now, I do have Lyme disease. I have chronic Lyme disease. There is definitely a lack of knowledge about this illness. There's also a lot of misconceptions. And so if you were to Google, treatment for Lyme disease, Google would tell you take a round of antibiotics and you're good to go, which is not always necessarily the case. That can be true if you contract the illness and then treat within 24 hours. That might be successful for you. But even then, you do have a risk of becoming chronic. And if you are already chronic, that is not the case at all. So this is a very tricky disease. It's smart and extremely complicated to treat. Everybody is different. Every body is different. Everyone's set of circumstances are different. And so symptoms can vary. Lyme can attack anything. It can attack your tissues, your organs, your bones. It can cross the blood-brain barrier, so it can attack your central nervous system. It can invade the brain. And because of that, it has been coined the great mimicker, because it can mimic so many other illnesses. It also is an invisible illness. People can look at someone with Lyme disease a lot of the time and not know anything is wrong. They can look like a healthy person. And for me, that has been one of the most frustrating parts of this illness, is that a lot of people just don't understand how sick I actually am. Because most days I look okay on the outside. Some days I feel okay as well, but there are also days where I struggle to get out of bed. So it's very deceiving. This illness is extremely deceiving. And a lot of people with this illness have to become their own advocates and doctors in many ways. Medical field is not in the business of healing, and that's what needs to happen to overcome this illness and a lot of chronic illnesses, is overall healing. And I feel like us as a society, we don't know how to heal. Healing requires rest, and we're not taught how to rest. We're taught how to go, go, go. That also has been one of the biggest challenges for me, is knowing when to slow down. I struggle with that so much because I've never had to do that prior to this illness. So it's a balance I still struggle with. And I've been dealing with this illness for just about 5 years now. If you have a chronic illness, I know one of the most difficult parts sometimes that can sap all your energy is just putting on that mask that you're okay. You know, showing up to places in front of people and having a smile and saying, I'm fine, you know, when you're not fine. But sometimes it's just easier to pretend you're okay and say you're okay than to explain to people why you're not okay, because they don't understand, especially if you look well. Yeah, so it's very difficult, you know, and it's isolating for many reasons. It's debilitating physically, but also there's so much that comes with this illness. You have to have a change of diet. There's a lot of medications involved or supplements. So it's easy when you're in a controlled environment in your home or wherever it is, and you can manage your health better. But when you have to go out, it really interrupts that routine. Or, you know, if you have to stay on a strict diet, it's hard to go to other places where there's going to be food and you can't eat what they have. Just little things like that. It's very difficult. Also, things we take for granted. Just getting up every day, getting dressed, getting ready, going to work, going to school, whatever we've got to do. When you have a chronic illness, that's not how it works. You wake up and you have to assess everything. How am I feeling? If you're feeling bad, what caused you to feel bad? And then you have to say, okay, how much energy do I have today to do the things I need to do? Am I going to be able to manage X, Y, and Z? And a lot of times you have to prioritize certain things and let other things drop. There have been days where I can't cook for myself because I'm so exhausted. I'd just rather not eat because I just don't have the energy. And I still work a full-time job. I'm lucky and blessed that I'm able to do that, but that takes a lot of my energy during the day. So a lot of things that we take for granted are hard for me. You know, if I have an event coming up, I can't just go. I have to prepare like weeks in advance for that to make sure that I'm physically well enough to attend. And even then, sometimes, no matter what I do, I am not well and I have to cancel. So there's a lot that comes into it. And if anything I'm saying is resonating with you, I know it's so frustrating when you have illnesses that people just don't understand. So if you are chronically ill, mentally ill, or suffer with a disability, I just want you guys to know that I see you, I hear you, and you're not alone. Okay? So that's my little chat, but let's talk about the actual book itself. So this book is Ally's memoir about her struggle with Lyme disease, and it follows her from her childhood to her adult life. So she contracted the illness when she was 7. She got diagnosed at 19, and it took her 11 years after that to get the disease to a manageable state. Keep in mind, you guys, Ally is extremely privileged, and this is not a dig at her at all. Even with all her resources, being able to seek out the best care and doctors and treatment plans, it still took her 11 years of treatment to get the disease to a manageable state. Now, there is no cure for Lyme disease. You can get it into remission, which is the goal, to get your body to manage it, but there is no cure. With all the resources she had at her fingertips, it was still such a struggle for her. You would think this would be disheartening for somebody like me, but it's really not. I found it really validating because I know how difficult this illness is. And so it's that validation that I needed to know I'm not alone. This is not, I'm not the only person going through this. This disease is tricky. It's hard to handle. It's hard to manage, and it's hard to treat. So she talks about the struggle. She talks about the treatments that she sought out and the doctors that she saw. And then she also details how she found healing. So she really stresses that for her, healing was threefold. It was not only physical, she also had to mentally heal, and she had to spiritually heal. And it was with those 3 things combined that she finally got to a place where she would consider herself well. This book was so cathartic for me. It was such a release. And I'm not sure how other people who don't have Lyme would receive this book, like if you have other illnesses. I would be curious to see. But I do think if you have Lyme, it's something that can be very healing for you to read. So for me, it was a 5-star. It was a 5-star read. I did read a couple of reviews after that critiqued the book because they found the writing to be disconjointed and kind of all over the place. Ally, however, did state that one of the biggest symptoms she has is memory loss. So during some of the worst times of her illness, she doesn't remember a lot. So she had to rely on accounts from family and friends in order to kind of piece things together. But for me, it wasn't an issue. I actually also found that validating because as someone who understands this disease and the symptoms, I understood the way that she was writing was due to her health issues. So for me, that was not an issue, but that was just something that a couple people pointed out about the book. Literally, guys, within the first 3 pages, I felt more validated and seen than I have throughout the entirety of this illness. Yeah, it was very healing for me in many ways. Felt like I wasn't alone in what I was going through. If you feel like this book would be a great fit for you, or you're interested to hear about Lyme disease, then I think it's a great read. The second book I read was The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. And this book was my book club's pick from a couple months back, I believe, but I missed it. So I wanted to read it still because I heard fantastic things about it. And this book is about a 4-year-old girl who goes missing from the blueberry fields in Maine. And the mystery of her disappearance remains unsolved for 50 years. So this sounded so intriguing. And like I said, I heard great things about it, but to be completely honest, I didn't find anything particularly special about this one. It's kind of one of those books that just is going to fall from my memory, unfortunately. I do remember it was a good read. I enjoyed reading it. It never really had a spark. So I don't know if I would recommend it. I would say if you have heard about it and the synopsis intrigues you, I would say go ahead and read it and see what you feel about it. But I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend this book. But I did end up rating it 3.5 stars, which is fairly decent. The third book I read in June was The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkauf, and this is actually my book club's current read. So I read this one and I gave it 3 stars. I don't know what it is. This is a thriller book, and I really have been striking out lately with thriller books, which is so unfortunate. I love thrillers. I just haven't had any good ones lately. And this one, honestly, you guys, it has been erased from my memory. I really don't remember much about this book. What I can remember, it's about a writer who goes away to like an isolated farmhouse cabin so that she can write. And then she thinks she's alone, but it turns out she's not alone. And yeah, it really was not memorable for me. I wanted to like this one. I just didn't. So 3 stars. The fourth book I read was a highly anticipated read, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This was my first time reading anything by V.E. Schwab, and I have to say, I love her writing. I had a great time reading this book. I was enjoying myself throughout the entirety of the book. I found the writing to be really poetic and flowery in a good way. It wasn't too much. And yeah, I just really enjoyed myself reading this book. I loved hearing about Addie's unique set of circumstances and following her story. I will say, the ending left something to be desired. It wasn't a bad ending. I liked the ending. I just feel like it didn't have the impact it could have. I felt like maybe there was an element missing to it. What that is, I have no clue. But yeah, I felt it was missing something. But overall, very good read. Highly recommend it to everyone who wants to read it. And I had a fantastic time reading it. So 4 stars. And the fifth and final book I read was Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. And I gave this 4.25. This was so great, you guys. So this book is set in Syracuse, Sicily, during the Peloponnesian War, and it follows 2 Syracusan men who decide they want to put on a Euripides play, but using the Athenian prisoners as the cast. So this book was just comedy gold. It kind of reminds me of like the Holy Grail, like the Monty Python and the Life of Brian movies. Like it has that kind of vibe as far as the humor and kind of the setting. And it's funny, but it's also tragic. And it's one of those books where there's a lot of depth, but it's kind of hidden in there where, you know, you don't catch it on the surface level. I feel like a lot of the humor covers it up. But yeah, I thought it was a fantastic read. I had a great time from beginning to end. I was laughing. It was fantastic. So I would definitely jump at the chance to read more from this author. I loved it, and I highly recommend this book. So those were the 5 books I read this month, you guys. I was in a horrible slump during June, and I'm still trying to come out of it a little bit, so hopefully this ends soon so that I can get back to my average reading pace. But it was an okay month. Some disappointments, but I did have a couple of really good reads as well, so I'm happy with that. I hope you guys are having a good day or night or whenever it is you are seeing this video, and keep an eye out for the videos I have coming. So if you care to, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.